Welcome again. I'm Mayor Mike, and we are now doing a segment called Alderperson Spotlight. And today we have with us Alderperson David Shorr from the 2nd District. David, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is David Shorr?
Sure. Well, my background, my training, and the work I've done before and still do has been all about affecting government decisions, public policy from non-governmental organizations.
Okay.
So the craft of trying to get decisions made or get policies adopted, and that's come in handy. It also made me curious after a career outside of government, making suggestions to policymakers and decision makers made me, of course, curious about what it would be like to be one. My first weeks after the election, I'd be in conversations and people would talk about decision makers, and I'd look around for a minute before realizing I was one.
Good. So you are 2nd District.
Yeah, I should say welcome to the 2nd District. Here we are
There you
at
go.
the Parks and Recreation Department, nestled in the Gerke Park Complex in the 2nd District.
Right. So generally, what are the boundaries of the 2nd District? I know there's maps available at stevenspoint.com for the actual roads that define the 2nd District boundary, but generally speaking, what's part of the 2nd District?
So the western boundary is Michigan Avenue. Okay. At the south, it is Ellis. To the east, it is Sault Marie, so I only represent one side of Sault Marie. Okay. And then it goes north down Minnesota to Maria.
Okay.
And then and then it does jump over into campus. I should also say that to the east of Reserve. So a few of the dorms and those lovely big ball fields.
Okay, and we've already talked about our wonderful Parks and Recreation Department,
right.
PJ Jacobs. What other things do you have in the 2nd District that people might not be aware of?
Well, we have another park, Outwell Park, which is on Jordan Lane.
Okay.
We have a little bit of commerce on Stanley. Okay. Right around the corner of Stanley and Minnesota. Okay. And also some on Main Street.
Good.
Around Michigan.
And as Alderperson representing the 2nd District, what are some of the unique characteristics you see in the 2nd District, and what are some of the things that you hope to achieve for the 2nd District?
So it's an established neighborhood, most of which was developed decades ago, so not as much new development. It's pretty dense. Lovely canopy of trees here in our tree city, and so a good solid neighborhood feel, and that's what I'm trying to build upon. A lot of the issues that come up have to do with definitely hear from people about the cars driving through and wishing that they'd be going slower. I don't know how many people are aware that of course, the police department has those boards that monitor driving speeds, and those can be requested to be put up and collect data. And we've done that a number of times on streets like Price, Sault Marie, Minnesota. Okay. So in that same spirit of not just having people drive through, but also being somewhere that people, are comfortable taking a walk or having a bike ride. I've noticed a lot of bicycle riding on sidewalks, which is never the best and safest place for them to be. That's another reason why calming traffic would be a good thing. But a big project that I've been raising, discussing, and pushing for is a redesign of Stanley Street, which relates, like I was saying before, that's a little commercial district that we have, and it'd be great to make it more sort of welcoming welcoming and hospitable on foot, while people are
And we've
by.
had a few public meetings in regards to the Stanley Street options. For those who may not have attended those meetings, give us an idea of what the vision is as you see it
Right.
for Stanley Street.
So in a nutshell, it's what they call a 4-to-3 lane conversion.
Okay.
This has been tried all over Wisconsin, all over the U.S. It's sort of a well-known street redesign. And 4-to-3 means that you go from 2 lanes in each direction to 1 in each direction. And I wish I could remember what TWIDL stands for exactly.
It's
but
two-way left turn.
It's a turning lane in the middle.
I think that's
TWIDL
what it
in
is.
the middle. Thank you. So you're just using that space. You particularly look at it for wider streets. Obviously, they're already 4-lane, and then so you compress down to 3 lanes for cars. Open up bicycle lanes on either side. Stanley is one of those streets where I definitely see bicycles on the sidewalk. And that's not only good for people riding bikes themselves, but it's also good for foot traffic.
Okay.
And the rule of thumb with these issues is the slower people go, the more money they spend. Which
Okay.
sort of stands to reason, and so those businesses on Stanley would be hopefully places where people from the neighborhood, we'd see each other and we'd be spending money and
Sure.
we'd all be
Yeah,
thriving.
you'd slow down. You have that impulse buy. I think grocery stores love me because I'm a big impulse buyer. I just happen to be walking by. Oh, look, I got to wait in line. Oh, look, I don't need that, but now I want that. Those sorts of things. Understood. Good. How about the city as a whole? What do you envision the city's biggest challenges are? The thing that you would, if you had a magic wand, what would you fix?
I think that most of the issues that we deal with really come down to making Stephen's Point a place that people want to live and work. Mm-hmm. We're always focused on big developments, business developments, both for the jobs that come with those, and because of how finances work. And I'm telling you something
Well, I know, but our listeners don't necessarily know. So
that those sort of developments, and we're all thrilled at the new building that's being built by Century as a good example. Those are critical, vital. We'd be in trouble without them for the finances of the city.
Well, and they're great community partners too. For those listening and watching, what the Alderperson is referring to is our levy restrictions, expenditure restraint programs and levy restrictions, allowing us to only increase our spending as much as we have in growth. So if we have a 1% growth rate in the city, meaning new businesses, new houses, things like that, net new growth, we can only increase our spending 1%. That becomes challenging because sometimes the cost of living just for our employees, their annual COLA, cost of living adjustment, is more than 1%. So that means if we need to give them 1.5%, we need to actually cut 0.5% if we only have 1% growth. So we want growth. We need that growth to continue to meet the needs that the citizens have come to expect in regards to services and taking care of our infrastructure, things like that. But we also want to do it wisely. We don't want to grow for the sake of growing. And I think that's been a focus of this council, is that we're looking at infill, but we're also not forsaking our borders. Growth on the perimeter is important also. And we kind of have to balance both of those for true smart growth. And it's not just put up a building and call it growth. We want to make sure that our philosophies as a community are incorporated in some of these projects too. And you've been instrumental in being involved in a lot of the projects that we've had. providing input on what your constituents want as far as new developments go.
That's why I say that the big picture way to look at it is to be a place that people want to live and work, right?
Mm-hmm. And play.
That too. That if we look at sort of the day-to-day of are the streets that I live on and the neighborhood I live in a place that I enjoy walking, right? Is there the sort of creative spirit that makes this sort of a fun place to be? Things like trivia, right? So bound up with who we are, such a highlight of the year. All of that is why people might want to live here, stay here. We've just been hearing the good news about quote unquote in-migration and
Right.
how we're doing as well or better.
We are doing better than
yeah.
all the surrounding communities in central Wisconsin. Portage County is the only one that has seen a net increase in migration, meaning there are more people moving to Portage County than we have moving away, to the tune of about 300 people a year. And we hope to have that number increase, but to do that, we need to provide the services and the jobs and the housing that people want. So it's a big balancing act.
And I think that's well put. All of those things are tied together, right? So there are a lot of housing challenges, and referring as I was before to being in a well-established part of town where there's not as much new development. Well, some of the aging housing stock then is more of an issue for our part of town as it is for other established parts of town. And so some of the challenges of keeping up aging housing stock, making sure people are able to make the simple updates that they need, roofs, et cetera, sump pumps, whatever. So that's part of the housing picture, just as other parts of the housing picture are the need for some additional rental options, et cetera, et cetera.
Good. Well, I think we're just about out of time. If people wanted to get in touch with Alderperson David Shorr, how can they do that?
Well, a couple ways. We are all listed there on the City Council website.
StevensPoint.com.
So you can click on David Shorr there on that page for the 2nd District, or a simple email address to get in touch with me is district2@stevenspoint.com.
Okay, great. And the profiles are available on StevensPoint.com as well. If you go to StevensPoint.com/District 2, they should get to your district page, or you can just search from the clerk's office, go to the alderpersons, and you get a map of the district, things like that, as well as pertinent information. That information can also be found on our mobile app, available for the iOS or Android operating system, so you can find that through the Play Store. And until next time, I'm Mayor Mike here with Alderperson David Shorr, the 2nd District, in our Alder Spotlight.